Hey kids, Jabbers. Jabbers, bedtime story. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Happy Easter. Thought everybody's Easter along the way, especially for my son. It's a great deal. Keeping people employed like this newspaper company here at this house. God bless them all. And people on post as well, like the main exchange. Ta-da! Springtime is definitely here. I've been planning stuff like everybody else and helping the environment make a comeback on these birds. Being a bird activist, trying to bring back some endangered ones. Boy, they chirping out there. My grandma always planted stuff this time of year. Kept things going. Always helping Mother Nature out with a few pointers. Carrying on. Let's continue. Little House on the Prairie. Alright. Nothing except Paul Patty tried to run, never wanted anything worse than I wanted to get away from there. But I knew if Patty even started, those wolves would be on us in a minute. Pulling us down so I held Patty to a wall. Goodness, Charles, Mom said under her breath. Yes, someone can go through such a thing, yeah, for any money. Caroline, I never saw such wolves. One big fellow traveled along right by my stirrup. They didn't pay any attention to me at all. They must have just made a kill and eaten all they could. I tell you, Caroline, those wolves just closed around Patty and me and tried along with us. In broad daylight, for all the world right, past the dogs. Going along with a horse, they were all around us, trotting along, playing and snapping each other just like dogs. Goodness, Charles, Mom said, getting Laura's heart with a thumping fast in her mouth. Her eyes wide open, staring at Paul. Patty was shaking all over and fighting a bit and bit. Paul's sweat ran off her. She was so scared I was sweating too, but I held her down to walk, and we went along with among those wolves. They came right along with us. Quarter of a mile more. That big fellow trotted by my stirrup as if he were there to stay. Then we came to the head of a draw running down the street. Running down into the creek bottoms, the big red leader went down it. All the rest of the pack trotted down into it. Behind them, as soon as the last one was in the draw, I let Patty go. She headed straight for home across the prairie. And she couldn't have run faster if I'd been cutting her with a raw whip. I was scared the whole way. I thought the wolves might be coming this way. And they might be making better this time, and I was glad you had the gun, Caroline. And glad that the house was built. I knew you could keep The wolves out of the house with a gun, but Pet the colt were outside. You need not have to worry, Charles, Mom said. I guess the command she saved our horses. It's not for a reason, look, I suppose. I know you would say the horses, Caroline. Those fools wouldn't bother you. Anyway, if they had been hungry, I wouldn't be here, too. Little pitchers have big ears, Mom said. She meant that must not frighten Mary at all. Well, all wells that ends well, Pa replied. And those wolves are miles from here by now. What made them act like that? Laura asked. I don't know, Laura. He said, I guess they had just eaten all they could in the hole and they were away to the creek to get a drink. Or perhaps they were out playing on the small prairie, not paying any attention to anything but their play, like little girls do sometimes. Perhaps they saw that I didn't have my gun and couldn't do them any harm. Or perhaps they had seen a man before and didn't know that men can do them any harm, so they didn't think about it. Meow. Ted and Patty were restlessly walking around and around. Inside the barn, Jack walked around the campfire when he stood still to smell the air and the hair lifted on his neck. Bedtime for little girls, Mom said. Cheerfully, not even Mary Carol was sleeping yet. But Ma took them all into the house. She told Mary and Laura to go to bed. And she put baby Carrie's little nightgown later in the big bed. Then she went outdoors to do the dishes. Laura wanted Paul in the house. They seemed so far away outside. Mary and Laura were good and lay still. But Carrie sat up and played by herself in the dark. And the dark Paul and Laura came up behind the quilt in the doorway and quietly took away his gun. Out by the campfire, the tin plates rattled. Then a knife scraped the spine. Ma and Pa were talking together, and Laura smelled tobacco smoke. The house was safe, but it did not feel safe because Pa's gun was not over the door, and there was no door. That was only the quilt. Within a long time, Ma lifted the quilt. Baby Kid was asleep then. Ma and Pa came in very quietly, and went to bed. Jack lay across the doorway, but his chin was not on his palms. His head was up, listening. Ma breathed softly. Pa breathed heavily, and Mary was asleep too. But Laura strained her eyes in the dark to watch Jack. She could not tell whether the hair was standing up on the neck. Suddenly he was sitting straight up in bed. She had been asleep. The dark was gone. Moonlight streamed through the window hole, and the streaks of moonlight came through every crack in the wall. Paul stood black in the moonlight at the window, and he had his gun right in Laura's ear. A wolf howled. She cringed just from the wall. The wolf was on the other side of it. Laura was too scared to make a sound. The cold was not in her backbone. It was all though. Mary pulled the quilt over her head. Jack growled and showed his teeth at the quilt in the doorway. Be still, Jack. Paul said terrible howls crawled all around. Inside the house, and Laura rose out of bed. She wanted to go out to Paul, but she knew better than to bother him now. He turned his head and saw her standing in her nightgown. Wanted to see them, Laura. Yes, Laura couldn't say anything, but she nodded and patted across the ground to him. He stood his gun against the wall and lifted her up from the window hole. There in the moonlight sat half a circle of wolves. They sat on their haunches and looked at Laura in the window. She looked at them. She had never seen such big wolves. The biggest was one taller than Laura. He was taller even ever than Mary. He sat in the middle, exact opposite of Laura. Everything about him was big. His pointed ears and his pointed mouth with the tongue hanging out, and his strong shoulders and legs and his two paws side by side, and his tail curled around the squatting haunch. His coat was shade gray, and his eyes were glittering green. Laura clutched her toes into a crack of the wall, and she folded her eyes on the window slab. And she looked and looked at that wolf, but she did not put her head through the empty window space into the outdoors, where all those wolves sat so near her. shifting their paws and licking up. Their child's paws stood firm against her back and kept his arms tight around her middle. He was also big. Laura whispered yes, and see how his coat shines, Paul whispered into her. The moonlight made little glitters in the edge of the shaking fur all around the big wall. There, in a ring clear around the house, Paul whispered. Laura patted beside him in the other window. He leaned his gun against that wall and lifted her up again. They were enough with other halves of the circle of the walls, all their eyes glistening in green. Shadow of the house glittered in green. Shadow of the house, Laura could hear their breathing. When they saw Paul and Laura looked up, the middle of the circle moved back a little way. Pat and Patty were squealing and running inside the barn. The hooves pounded the ground and crashed against the walls. After a moment, Paul went back to the other window and Laura went too. They were just in time to see the big wolf lift his nose. Tilly pointed straight at the sky, his mouth open and a long howl rose toward the moon. Then all around the house, the circle of the wolves pointed their nose toward the sky and answered him. Their howls shuddered through the house and felt the moonlight quaver away across the vast silence of the prairie. Now, go back to bed, little half-pint. Paul said, go back to sleep. Go to sleep, Jack, and I'll take care of you. So Laura went back to bed. For a long time she did not sleep. She lay and listened to the breathing of the wolves on the side. Along the wall she heard scratch of their claws on the ground and the skin snuffling of a nose at a crack. She heard the big gray leaders howl again, and all they answering him, but Paul was still squawking, walking quiet from one window hole to the side shack, and did not stop from passing and packing up and down before the wheel that hung in the doorway. The wolves might howl, but they could not go in a wild Paul, and Jack was there. Jack were there, so I left the Laura fell asleep. Two stout doors. Laura felt a soft, warm on her face and opened her eyes in the morning. Sunshine air was talking to Mom, but by the campfire, Laura ran outdoors. All there inside her nightgown. There were no wolves to be seen, only their tracks were thick around the house. And still, Pa came whistling up the creek road. He put his gun on his peg and let Pet and Patty to drink as usual. He had followed the wolf tracks so far they knew they were far away. Now following the heard a deer. The Mustang she at the wolf's tracks. And pricked their ears nervously, and Pet kept her coat closed at her side. But they went willingly with Paul, who knew there was nothing to fear. Breakfast was ready when Paul came back from the creek. They all sat by the fire and ate fried mush and prairie chicken hash. Paul said he could make a dough that very day he wanted more. They cooked between them and the wolves next time. I have no more nails, but I'll not keep on waiting till I can make a trip to independence. But I'll keep it waiting until I can make a trip to independence, he said. A man doesn't need a nail to build a house or make a door. As you can see, after breakfast he hitched up and Pat and Patty, and taking his axe he went to get timber for the door. Laura helped wash the dishes and make the beds, but that day Mary minded the berry. Laura helped Paul make the door. Mary watched, but Laura handed him his tools. With the saw he sawed logs the right length for a door. He sawed shorter lengths for cross pieces. Then with the axe he split the logs into slabs and smothered them nicely. He laid the long slabs together on the ground and placed the shorter slabs across them. Then with the auger he bored holes through the cross pieces of the long slabs. In every hole he drove a wooden peg that fitted tight. That made the door was a good old door, solid and strong. For the hinges he cut 3 long straps. One hinge was to be near the top of the door, one near the bottom, and one in the middle. He fastened them first to the door on the way. He laid a little piece of wood on the door and bored a hole through it into the door. Then he doubled one on the end of a strap around the little piece of wood. With his knife cut round holes through the strap. He laid the little pieces of wood on the door arcing, with the strap doubled around it, and all the holes making one hole. Then Laura gave him a peg and a hammer, and he drove the peg into the hole. The peg went through the strap, and the little pieces of wood went through the strap again into the door. That held the strap so they couldn't get loose. I told you, fellas, doesn't need nails policy. When he had fastened 3 inches to the door, he set the door on the door. It fitted. Then he pegged strips of wood to the old slabs on either side of the door to keep the door from swinging outward. He set the door in place again, and Laura stood against it to hold it there. Pa fastened the hinges to the door frame. But before he did this, he made the latch on the door because, of course, there must be some ways to keep the door shut. This was the way he made the latch. First he hewed a short, thick piece of oak from one side of this, and then he cut it wide, deep notch. He pegged this, sticking it inside of the door, and shut the door up and down near the edge. He put the notch side against the door so that the notch made a little slot. Then he hewed and whirled along a smaller stick. This stick was small enough to slip easily through the slot. He slid one end in through the slot and pegged the other end of the door. But he did not peg it tightly. The peg was solid and firm in the door, but the hole in the stick was larger than the peg. The only thing that held the stick on the door was the slot. This would stick the latch turn easily on the peg. It loose end up and down in the slot, and the loose end was long enough to get through the slot across the crack between the door and the wall, and lie against the wall, and the door was shut. When Pa and Laura had hung the door on the door, Pa marked the spot on the wall where the end of the latch came. Over that spot, pegged to the wall, a stout piece of oak. This piece of oak was cut out at the top, so the latch would drop between it and the wall. Now Laura pushed the door shut, and while she pushed it, she lifted the end of the latch as high as it would go. It would go in the slot, then she let it fall in its place behind the stout piece of oak. That had held the latch against the wall, and the up and down strip held the latch in its slot against the door. Nobody could break it without breaking the strong latch in two. But there must be a way to leave the latch from the outside, so Pa made the latch string. He cut it from a long strip of good leather. He tied one end of the latch between the peg and the slot above the latch bore a small hole through the door, and he pushed the end of the latch string through the hole. Laura stood outside. When the end of the latch string came through the hole, she took a hold of it and she pulled it hard enough to lift the latch and let herself in. The door was finished. It was strong and solid, made it thick up with oak slabs across. And stout pegs. The latch string was out. If you wanted to come in, you pulled the latch string. But if you were inside and wanted to keep anyone out, then you pulled the latch string through its hole, and nobody could get in. There were no doorknob on the door, and there were no keyhole, no key, but it was a good door. I'll call that a good day's work, said Pa. And I got a fine little helper. He hugged the top of Laura's head with his hand, then he got up his tools and put them away, whistling as he went to take a pat and Prairie from the picket lines to water the sun. Was standing in the breeze was cooler, and supper cooking on the fire made the best supper smells that Laura ever smelled. There was a salt pork for supper. It was the last of the salt pork, so next day Pa went hunting. That day after that, he had Laura make the barn door. It was exactly like the house door, except it had no latch. They didn't understand door latches. It would not pull the last string at night. So instead of a latch, Pa made a hole through the door, and he put a chain through the hole. At night, he would pull an end of the chain through a crack between the logs in the stable, while he would padlock the two ends of the chain together, and nobody could get into that stable. Now we're all snug, Paul said. When neighbors began to come into the country, it was best to lock up your horses at night, because where there are deer, there will be wolves, and where there are horses, there will be horse thieves. That night at supper, Paul said to Mom, "Now, Caroline, as soon as we get to Edward's house up, I'm going to build you a fire so you can do either your cooking in the house. Out of the wind and the storm, it seems like I never did see a place where such sunshine, but I suppose it's bound to rain sometime." "Yes, Charles," Mom said, "good weather never lasts forever on this earth. They fall on the hurt." Outside the house, close to the long wall opposite the door, Paul cut away with the grass and scraped the ground smooth. He was getting ready to build the fireplace. Then he and Ma put the wagon box on the wheels. Again, Paul hitched up and pet and patted. The rising sun was shortening all the shadows. Hundreds of meadow larks were rising from the prairie, singing higher and higher. Dear, their songs came down from a great clear sky like a rain of music, and all over the land, where the grasses waved and murmured under the wind. Thousands of little sticky birds clung with their tiny claws to the blossoming weeds, and sang their thousands of little songs. Pet and Patty sniffed the wind and whined with joy. They arched their necks and pawed at the ground. Besides, they were eager to go. Paul said, whistling, and said, "Want to go along, Laura? You and Mary." Ma said they could. Good. They climbed up the wheel, clean to the spokes with their bare toes. And they sat on the high wagon, went jolting down the road that Paul's wagon wheel had made. They went down between the bare reddish yellow walls of earth, all ridged and wrinkled by forgotten rains. Then they went on across the rolling land of the creek bottom. Masses of trees covered some of the low round hills, and some of them were grassy open spaces. Deer were lying on the shadows of the trees, and deer were grazing in the sunshine. On the green grass they lifted their heads and pricked their ears and stood chewing and watching the wagon with their soft, large eyes. All on the road that wild lilac spark was blossoming pink and blue and white birds bounced on yellow palms with golden round, and butterflies were fluttering starry days. Light in the shadow of the trees, squirrels chattered on a branch overhead. Wild-tailed and rabbits hopping along the road, snakes wriggled quickly across, and then they heard the wagon come. Despite the lowest valley of the creek was running in the shadows of dark bluffs. When Laura looked up at these bluffs, she couldn't see the bare grass at all. Trees grew up up the bluffs, where the earth had crumbled and where the bare dirt was so straight that trees can grow on it, and bushes out on just fruit with their roots. Half were naked, roots were high above Laura's head. "Where are the Indian camps, Laura?" asked Paul. He had seen the Indians' deserted camps here amongst the bluffs, but he was too busy to show them to her now. He must get the route to build a fireplace. You girls can play. He said, "But don't go out of my sight, and don't go into the water. Don't play with snakes. Some of the snakes down here are poison." So Laura and Mary played by the creek with Paul dug the rocks he wanted to load them into the wagon. They watched long-legged water bugs ski over the glassy still pools. They ran along the banks to scare the frogs and laughed when the green-coated frogs with their white vests plopped in the water. They listened to the wood pigeons call along the trees and the brown thrush singing. They saw the little minnows swimming along together in the shallow place where the creek ran sparkling. The minnows were thin gray shells in the rippling water. Only now and again one minnow flashed the sunshine from its silver belly. There was no one along the creek. The air was still and drowsy warm. It smelled of damp. You see that? Roots and mud, it was full of sound of rustling leaves out of the water running in the muddy places where deer tracks were thick, and every hoof printing out of water swarms of mosquitoes rose up with a keen, sharp buzzing roar. Hurry slapped at mosquitoes on their faces and necks and hands and legs. In which they could go wading through. It was hot. The water looked around. So cool, Laura was sure that it would do no harm. Just to dip one foot in the other when Pa's back was turned, she almost did it. Laura said, "Pa," and she snatched the naughty foot back. "If you girls want to go wading," Pa said, "you can do it in the shallow place. Don't go in, don't go in over your ankles." Mary waited only a little while, she said. The gravel hurt her feet, and she sat on a log and patiently slapped at mosquitoes, but Laura slapped and kept on wading. Then she stepped the gravel hurt her feet. When she stood still, the tiny mouse swarmed about her toes. He nibbled them with her tiny mouth. It was fun squiggling, feeling. Laura tried to catch minnow, but she only got the hem of her dress wet. Then the wagons were loaded. Paul called, "Come on, girls," and they collapsed the wagon seat against the road. Up through the woods and hills they rode again to the high prairies where the winds were always blowing the grass seemed to sink, whispering aloud. That's it, Ma said Sue in the shadow of the house, and baby Carrie played on the quiet beside her, while Laura and Mary watched Pa build the fireplace. First he mixed the clay and water to be beautiful. Thick mud in the Mustang's wire bucketed. He let Laura stand in the middle mud while he laid